So there's a reality to military life that most of us have to face eventually. It goes a little bit like this. You sit down for a job interview with the chief technology officer of the world's largest baby carriage factory. The CTO of the baby carriage factory, who has an Ivy League degree and very soft hands, says, "Oh, you were in the military. What'd you do there?" And you say, "Oh, I led a Marine infantry battalion. Our mission was to close with and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver using a lethal combination of crew-served weapons, small arms, and good old-fashioned hand-to-hand combat." So a key thesis over here at Ring Knocker is that this is a more productive conversation when there's a little trigger time on both ends of that table. Often before you can sit for that interview, you got a different problem to solve. How do you acquire the qualifications you need in order to do that baby carriage factory job? And often that means some sort of an advanced degree, which means that your first interview is either with a student loan officer or with a guy like today's guest speaker, retired Army Brigadier General Scott Brower. So General Brower is a 1989 West Point grad who got his start in ADA, that's Air Defense Artillery for you squids, and soon landed with the quiet professionals of Army Special Forces. Now, I don't have to tell you guys this. Maybe it's winding down, who knows, but we've been at war for a generation since 9/11. And much of that war has been a special operations kind of war. So General Brower and his Green Berets fought that war from one end to the other. General Brower is now director of Vanderbilt University's Bass Military Scholars Program, which provides scholarships to veterans seeking advanced degrees in law, nursing, medicine, business, and education. Now, a program like that has a lot of goals, but the way I see it, one of the big ones is to stack the deck. Because if the CTO of that baby carriage factory is also a knuckle dragger, then you don't have to explain why your military experience in and out of combat qualifies you for the job. So General, welcome to Ring Knocker. It's been a pleasure, or it is a pleasure rather, to have you aboard. And I see you're not alone. So why don't you introduce yourself and your team, sir, and the floor is all yours.
Jason, thanks. I appreciate it greatly. And I'm glad you already knocked out 20 minutes of my presentation in the introduction. So that was
I get that a lot.
But, you know, hey, folks, I'm happy to be here with you today and share a little bit about this program. And what Jason was just describing, that transition, is something that I've been swinging at now for 3 years. So graduated in '89, retired in 2018 after 29 plus years. Spent the vast majority of that in Army Special Forces, deployed to combat on 8 separate occasions. Left my family here in Middle Tennessee 6 separate times. And then that's why Jen and I committed to staying right here in Middle Tennessee. I've gone through just like they tell you when you're coming out, right? You know, it's going to take 3 to 5 years and 2 to 3 jobs to kind of find your next calling. I'm like, I'm not doing that, right? I'm going to nail my job first time. I'm on my 3rd job right now, almost 3 years out. I worked as a military advisor in residence at Austin Peay State University for a year. Through an incredibly weird set of circumstances, I found myself running Tennessee's COVID task force for Governor Lee for about 13 months. And then this opportunity at Vanderbilt presented itself, which I'll go into more detail about why this excited me. But Jason's already kind of teased you on that a little bit there with that transition piece. Joining me today, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, are 3 of our brand new scholars that are just showing up and going through orientation as they pursue some of those degrees that Jason described. I have Hermes Silva, United States Air Force Academy grad, Megan Gamar, United States Military Academy grad, and Joe Barrett, another West Point grad. We wanted to have an Annapolis grad. We actually have one of those in our program right now, but he actually is getting some well-deserved time with his family down in Alabama today, so couldn't join us. But I'm going to hand it over to Hermes first and ask him to go ahead and introduce himself. So Hermes, go ahead, please.
Hey, thank you, sir. So yeah, like was mentioned, my name is Hermes Silva. I graduated from the United States Air Force Academy in 2012. Served as a space operations officer in the Air Force. Declined transition to the Space Force in order to pursue this opportunity, a wonderful opportunity to go ahead and hopefully settle my family down and become a nurse. So I'm excited to be here. I'm happy to help answer questions you might have, especially those of you that might be looking to go into the career field of nursing. I'm from Victoria, Texas, and as I mentioned, I'm married to my beautiful wife, Lauren. We have 4 now, 4 amazing kiddos. I can't forget the last one. So I have Santiago, he's going to turn 7 soon. I have Ignatius, he's going to turn 6 soon. Eloise, she's 3.5, and Blaze, he's my 4-month-old. So thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Hey, Megan, can you go ahead next then, please?
Absolutely. I'm Megan Gamar. Nice to meet everybody. West Point grad, class of 16. Was on the track and field team there. So I did get to race against Navy at least 4 times a year. Army, field artillery. So I'm very familiar with the 105 system that you are also familiar with, Jason. Spent a lot of time at Fort Sill, if anyone's been around that area. Mike, to answer your question, I did just terminate my stint as a detailee at the White House. Was a wonderful experience, strongly recommend. And now I'm here at Owen to try to pivot into business.
Thanks, Megan. And Joe, go ahead, please.
Thanks, sir. My name's Joe Barrett. I'm from a small town of New Philadelphia, Ohio. Cornfields right in the middle between Cleveland and Columbus. I graduated West Point in 2014, and then I served in the Army as an infantry officer, serving at Fort Campbell, and then most recently in Vicenza, Italy, a part of the 173rd Airborne Brigade Combat Team. I just changed command less than 2 weeks ago, and I'm in my apartment, so don't judge me as I'm standing at my stand-up desk of my kitchen counter, but excited to be here and excited to be a part of the team. I'll be pursuing my Master's of Education and primarily in higher education administration. So happy to be here and happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Jason, it's okay if you all just kind of run through a little bit and share a little bit
Sure.
about our program.
Please.
Yeah, the Bass Military Scholars Program started in 2018. So we're literally just on our 3rd cohort of scholars joining us. And so Megan, Hermes, and Joe are part of our most recent 17 additions to this program right here. The Lee and Ramona Bass Foundation are the benefactors who allow this to happen. So Lee and Ramona Bass, they're from Fort Worth, Texas. Lots of family oil money. They have a connection to Vanderbilt University. Lee sat on the board of trustees. Their son Perry is a 2010 graduate of Vanderbilt. And they were just so pleased with the experience of Vanderbilt and how students are treated and the quality of education. They wanted to do something to give back. And a gentleman by the name of Brett Sweet, who happens to be a Naval Academy grad, former submarine officer who was the chief finance officer for Vanderbilt, presented them with some options, one of which was this program. And they immediately leapt at it. And they said, that's exactly what we want to do. And that program, Jason's described some of it, but it's for honorably discharged veterans seeking advanced degrees in law, medicine, nursing, business, and education. And so from the rank of E4 and up, right, that's the population that we're targeting. And while the academies absolutely are key and critical to this, just based on volume of people that they produce, and most of whom, me not included, are academically gifted and can get into Vanderbilt for some of these very competitive degrees, it just became a tremendous opportunity to recruit and attract very talented service members that then can go on to do something else once they've left uniformed service. So, you know, what really attracted the Bass family, because while they're the scholarship program, which is each scholar receives $25,000 a year that they're here. So if they're going through the College of Medicine and they're here for 4 years, that's $25,000 a year. And that sounded like the most attractive thing initially to the program. But what we're learning from the scholars, it's not just the money, but it's literally the connection of the other veterans that are in there, these like-minded or like-experienced individuals that they can have a connection with becomes extremely attractive. And tied to that then is the network that we're tied to. Ring Knocker is a perfect example of how we can reach out to a broader military network to try to help offer mentorship and placement into the job market once they've earned these degrees. So as we kind of move on and we look at who's here and who's involved in this program, it's a small program, right? It's based on a $25 million endowment that the Bass family's provided. So as that money, as all of that money comes in, what it does is, right, with moderate gains on investments, it basically sustains 40 scholars, right? It produces about $1 million a year forever, which allows us to have 40 scholars in this program at any one time. And so, because again, the degrees take different periods of time. You go to business school, you're here for 2 years. You go to law school, it's 3. You go to medical school, it's 4 years. So we have we call them cohorts. They start at the same time. They don't necessarily finish at the same time. But we're constantly recruiting, and we're probably looking for 10 to 15 incredibly talented and intelligent individuals that are coming out of service. And so, it started with a very hard push on the service academies. And I can tell you, out of the 33 scholars that have started this program over the 3 years, 42% of them come from the service academies. And we are absolutely slanted. We have 11 West Point graduates that are part of the program, only 2 from Annapolis, and then 1 from Colorado Springs in the Air Force Academy. So I honestly, I think it's great that we have this opportunity, because I know Ring Knocker is primarily Navy heavy, and that's great, because really what I view as my responsibility with this program is to try to make the program look as much like our military as is possible. And so that means from a service perspective, it means from a gender perspective, it means from a rank perspective, race, ethnicity, every last piece of it is what we're striving for. So I told you, 42% are coming from service academies. Another interesting little piece, out of the 33 scholars, 8 of them have backgrounds similar to myself. They come out of the U.S. Special Operations Command portfolio, whether that's Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Special Operations Aviators, again, making up a quarter of our population. 30% of our scholars are women. So we're very well represented by females in the program, which is very exciting. We are absolutely, just like with the service academies, we're Army heavy. 23 of the scholars have come out of the Army, 5 from the Navy. And then just this year, we finally added Air Force and the Marine Corps. We have 3 from the Air Force and 2 from the Marine Corps. So the word is starting to get out. And me talking to you, we think is an opportunity here, as well as with the scholars. But really, we recognize the best marketing that could ever take place is from the scholars themselves, reaching back out to their peer group that are getting ready to transition, right? Somebody old with starting to turn gray hair. My grandson still calls it brown, but a little bit older. Me saying it's a great program is one thing. Joe, Hermes, Megan saying it's a great program, that's completely different, right? Because they're actually going through it and experiencing it. And so we want to capitalize on that as much as possible. I'll tell you what really excites me about the program. There's 2 things. First, as I've now met all 33 of the scholars associated with the program, the thing I hear most common from all of them is a continued desire to serve. Right. And so it's wanting to be connected to and part of something that's bigger than themselves, whether that's service activities that they'll do and share when they're at part of the program, as an active member of the Bass Military Scholars Program and at the university, or once they go beyond. I don't know how many of our nursing students have told me they want to serve underserved populations. They want to serve the Hispanic population that has a language barrier when it comes to access to healthcare. And so they're still looking to figure out how they can do these things. Even those earning business degrees, the first thing out of their mouth that I don't hear is, hey, I want to go and make $1 million, right? What I hear is they want to join an organization to try to help make things better. They want to be part of nonprofits. They want to do other things to continue to serve their community organization that they're associated with, which is just absolutely phenomenal in my mind. The second thing that excites me about the program is, Jason talked about it, that transition piece. I just went through it 3 years ago. Joe Barrett went through it a week ago, right? So he's literally just getting started on this thing. It's challenging. Okay. It is absolutely challenging on trying to make that translation of our experiences to explain it to somebody, how good these people are. That's a huge challenge. I was just sharing with somebody at Vanderbilt, I probably got some sideways looks when I said, things that I really don't like in life: Al Qaeda, human resource directors, and Hitler, right? I mean, human resources kind of fit right in the middle there, because they just don't understand who we are. When you take somebody that has, military experience and there's a resume associated with it, we never get through the gonculator. We don't make it through the screening process. If I can put these young men and women in front of a human being, they'll blow the socks off of them, right? They'll knock it out of the park. I know they will, because they do it constantly. They've been doing it their whole career. But these individuals, like Hermes, like Megan, like Joe, they become messengers, right? They become messengers of good, of what veterans can do. These three have come from the Service Academy. And in all honesty, when I look at the others, we have enlisted soldiers and service members. We have folks from ROTC, from OCS. It doesn't matter. They're incredibly academically gifted. Like, I didn't understand that GPAs could be that high, right? But they're that talented. And so now they have that undergraduate background. They have a successful military career for however many years. And now they're going to walk out with a Vanderbilt degree behind them, which is obviously one of the top schools in the country. So now they become messengers of good.